Hi, it's Nancy Jean again. Welcome back to the garden. I'm glad that you've shown up again. And today my topic is going to be kind of what to expect from a reading and decisions we make about having a reading. Now, when I table read, especially at times 10 and at Dolly's, almost all the people I got, except for the ones that came back for a second reading, but a lot of them were first time people had never had a reading before, never been where they could find one before. So they were kind of novices and didn't know much about scary cards, or they'd seen things on YouTube that, and they knew something and they knew they weren't scary cards. But one of the things I have is this is my significator, Queen of Swords. And I use this deck. This is the Eileen Connally deck, and I'll put in a note below what deck it is. And one of the reasons I picked the Queen of Swords, I picked her years ago. I mean, I've been reading with that as an understanding of who I am since I was quite young. And but in Eileen Connolly's books, I found one of the best descriptions about her, which is she takes her sword and runs around sticking in everybody's bag of BS. And I think that's pretty much my job. When I read the truth. I read what's happening to you. So that's my significator, and I like her. And when I was younger, my hair was actually that color. About my hair color. Don't adjust your screen. And yes, my hair is purple, and I know it's purple. So I chose for it to be purple. I didn't like white hair. Okay, now reading at Dolly's was kind of open-ended. I mean, it was during the day, or they were in there buying things and doing what they do. But at times 10, it's a wine bar. And a lot of times people would decide, I'll have a couple glasses or a glass before I risk this. And when you're talking to some of these people, you don't know if they've had a couple glasses. Did they have any of the good cheese board stuff? Did they have any of the flatbread pizza? Did they have the most incredible Caesar salad in the city of Dallas? If they didn't have any of that fortifying them before the wine, they could be a little bit further on than they thought. Anyway, the last thing you want to talk to a person who is not in their complete consciousness is about death and the devil, both of which are in this deck. Most people don't understand what they mean. This is death in Eileen's deck. It's called transition. And that's all death really means. In any tarot deck, it means you're changing from one place to another. Now, it can be paired with other cards that could mean physical death, but I rarely have ever seen that. When this card shows up, it means things as you've known them before are going to completely change. And we've been through that this year. We all know about transition now. So that's that card, and that kind of ameliorated that one. The other one is you don't want people to think they got the devil on their case, especially if they've been born and raised in Texas, and no matter where you go, that element of the fundamentalism is a part of our culture one way or another. So instead of the devil, we have materialism. And I actually think that's a much better description of that energy, because when I used to read, and I had a death and a devil in my deck at psychic fairs, in the 80s, I would read women over and over and over again who were married to someone who had become emotionally unavailable, and the devil would show up. Well, it didn't mean they were running off with the devil or anything else. To me, it meant workaholism. And really, I think the devil card, or in this case, materialism, it has the ism in it. That's people who get so tied to something in this physical world that they turn their back on spirit. You see, this guy has the rainbow behind him, and he's chained to these parts: money, love, new endeavors, or strife. And so that to me was a much better way to deal with the idea of the isms. When I was young and the devil used to show up in my cards, I used to call it drug, sex, rock, and roll, which for my generation in college was absolutely the truth. But not that I partook of any of that. But anyway, that's kind of how you select a deck if you're a reader and you're thinking about it. I like to read Rider Waite decks. I use oracle cards, and I use some different ones. But to me, when I'm going to read a whole situation for someone, I'm much happier with Rider Waite, because It's universal. You can, from one deck to the next, you can figure out what they're talking about. I even have a deck that's from Estonia. A friend of mine went to Estonia and he brought it back to me. And I can lay those cards out next to a Rider Waite deck and know exactly what the cards are, because you have that universal energy model. And I like that. Yeah. So anyway, what to expect from a reading? Well, I used to have a long poem and I lost it in one of my many moves, but it talked about cups and wands and swords and pentacles and what all they meant and the characters in them. But the last line is the one that always stuck with me. And the questions always come down to this: will I be poor? Will I be rich? Should I get rid of the son of a bitch? And that's what the poem said. So I'm not like blurting out my mouth, but it's really true. And if you think about it, at the end of the day, what do we want to know most? We want to know that we'll be able to take care of ourselves, poor or rich. And do we have someone else we want to be with while we're taking care of ourselves? And that's really kind of a lot of what the questions come down to. But one of the things I learned early on was people walk up to the table, especially at psychic fairs, and I say, well, what's your question? A lot of them didn't have a question. They were just like, no, you tell me. So I always start off reading with what's going on around you for the next 3 months. Now, I can't read into blank energy. So I have an, an AP in Philadelphia who asked me if I would read her next 3 months. And I said, you mind if I do it in a public reading? And she said, no, just send me the tape so I know what's going on. So I'm going to put the camera down on the cards and we're going to look at AP in Philadelphia, your next 3 months. Oh, it's actually a very good reading. Now, I read reverses, and the problem with you looking at these cards, what's reversed to you is direct to me. So this is just as if you were sitting at the table. And what I see is her in card is her strength. She's rallying her strength to try and find a new, she's building a new life up there. And that means she's had to walk past a lot of the things she's been afraid of. The strength card is really, the woman is the spirit and the lion is our fears. And we tame our fears or the things we're worried about by confronting them. So she is going to do that. But the card crossing her is she just hasn't met the right people yet. This card is the Five of Pentacles. And in traditional tarot, it means usually people walking outside a church freezing their butts off. In this, to me, it always means you're not connecting with the people you need to connect with. But if you look at this card, what I like about this card is you do have the grace that the angels will come. If you seek help, if you ask for spiritual guidance, you can have the blinders lifted and get where you need to go. Her fountain card is the reason she moved to Philadelphia is to be with the person she loved. And that part's working out. But she hasn't found a mentor there yet. She's looking for a mentor. This would be the querent. This is a person asking a question. This is a person who has the enlightenment to be able to guide you forward. That's kind of where she is. And from when she sent me your question, I kind of felt that's where she was. Anyway, her problem is, and oh, these cards are the past, and anything that happens in the past, you can you kind of just have to accept it. I mean, you can change your mental attitude about it, but you can't change the actual vibration. Anything that's in the future, any of these cards, these six, you can change that energy. And right now she's got the isms, and I know I know what it can be like when you're looking for work and when you're trying to figure these things out. You get very stuck on, I have to go this way, I have to go that way. This card, I would reverse it and say, let the universe flow towards you so you can meet the people you need to meet. She, in her hopes and fears, she's she's worried about, she's had a string of bosses that were not the best. And so she's kind of afraid of picking someone who would replicate that situation again. But she doesn't need to, because this card shows she's going to bring in the right people in the near future. She's really, really going to bring in the right people. And it's going to get her off square one. She's got the Ace of Swords reversed. The Ace of Swords, when it's right side up, usually means you're sort of stuck in the ground in one place, or you're trying to get things going and you can move so forward and then you can't move anymore. When it's reversed, it means things are going to happen very, very quickly. I think she needs to, this card's reversed, she needs to think beyond the box of where she thinks she can fit for a job. And think beyond the industry she's been part of. She has a universal tool to work for, to work with. She does a lot of design and web design and stuff. She has a way she can manifest that beyond the world she's used to. And it's been hard. It's been hard to go looking for work again. She always sort of walked from one thing to the next. But on this counterpoint to that is she always pulled in the same sort of negative boss. So maybe she's given time for her soul to look at where she wants to go next to make sure that's where she wants to go. So the card I would tell her to reverse, what I would tell her to work on, is meditate in a positive person. Now, the King of Swords can be kings and queens in the deck are not, this doesn't mean it's masculine. It could be a woman who is in a leadership position because that's when this sort of paradigm was designed. She can find someone, and they're good, thoughtful persons, and they can cut to the chase, just like my card, the Queen of Swords, can cut to the chase. And that's what she needs to manifest in, is that kind of energy in the place she's working, and to expand herself beyond the businesses she's thinking in. That's what's limiting her and keeping her locked in one place. And I'm going to put a clarifier on the Knight. Okay, girl's got tons of Knights on here. She's got the Knight of Swords. That means she's going to be moving forward quickly, and that is a change of residence or change of job. She's going to do it because she's going to be being less defensive. She's going to be reversed. She's going to be, no, that's reversed. Okay. She's going to be less defensive and more ready to build a different kind of wall for herself. And she's going to find the money she wants. So I would say to her that a job change is in the wind, that this move has been powerful for her, walking past her fears and deciding to go commit with her partner in Pennsylvania. And she's just living through the stress and strains of being in a new environment and trying to find her way. But her cards, actually her out cards, are very good. She's going to find the right people to partner with, and it's going to work well for her. Now, why do I always start people with what's going on around you for the next 3 months? For one, a lot of people don't know what question to ask. That gives them a question. I'm going to tell you also, be careful how you word a question when you ask a reader, at least if you ask this reader. I read a couple at times 10, and she sat down, and she was a young woman in her 30s and doing the career transition stuff. And she was afraid of getting too slotted into one area. By being a generalist, you've been able to jump from job to job, but it was becoming, there just comes a point in your life where you have to say, okay, I do this better than that. She wasn't quite ready to go there yet, but my card showed that she really was, that she had something she'd really come to terms with about what she wanted to do. So after I read her, she was there with her boyfriend, or her date, or whatever for the date. And he said, oh, I've never believed in this stuff, but let me see. I'll sit down here. I'll have you read my cards. And he sat opposite me, one of those very confident 40-something guys. And he said, what do I need to do in the next 3 months? And my guide, Addie, which I will do a session on soon to explain what she said, tapped me on the shoulder and said, tell him the question needs to be different. And I said, is that the question you want to ask? Or do you want what's going on around you for the next 3 months? He said, no, what do I need to do in the next 3 months? So I laid down his cards and I looked at him and I said, you need to divorce your wife. Well, it ends up the young woman at the table with him did not know he was still married. She thought he was a freak because he was from out of state, but moving here. And anyway, have you seen those cartoon cats and look at something when they see, what it is? That's what her head did. And um, he said he was so shocked that I saw it that he said, it's not as easy as you think. We've been working on this for a while. And I looked right across the table at him and said, don't tell that to a woman who had to divorce a husband when she had two little toddlers in tow and became their sole breadwinner for a while. I don't want to really hear that, you've got assets, and you date, they had no kids. That I knew from the cards. I don't know why. Anyway, we talked about it. And he finally said, well, it's just not, I said, you just need to go get it settled. And the thing is, she's a nice lady. I saw his wife. She was a lovely woman. She was an artist, and where they lived, she had built up a reputation, was part of an art commune, and she could not move easily. And things had happened over time. So it's just time for them to split. And anyway, I would have thought they would have cleaned off their table and been out of there in 2 minutes flat, but they ended up spending the night in the bar, and the wait staff kept walking by the table, listening into the conversation, which at points got a little bit heated. But she came back and visited me later and told me kind of the story, and that she'd known him for years and she knew he'd been married before, but she had thought he was free. So anyway, I don't know whatever happened to them as far as dating wise, but what I didn't tell her, and I did a favor for him, was the reason he didn't want to divorce his wife is because he didn't want to lose his assets, and that was in the reading too. So be careful what you ask about, because what you need to do and what might be going on around you are two totally different questions. Okay, that will go to her, and that's an answer to her question. And for you, my watchers, I'm going to tell you, if you want to have a reading from me, the link that you have to email me, and then we arrange a time. I have lots of free time right at the moment because I've just started advertising this way. And I can do 3 months, and in another tape I'm going to show how I do a 12-month reading, and I only do 12-month readings in December and January. And I look at your 12 months ahead and pick out the months that are going to be really significant and important for you, and the ones that are going to be less of pressure for you. I can do past lives and all that stuff, but I really need a person to tie the energy to. I'm not great at that. So if you want me to continue to be here, you need to you need to subscribe, you need to become part of the garden. And let's see what the garden message the garden has for you. And I'm using Mystic Monday, which is a very interesting tarot deck. It's very abstract. And we're going to pull a card, y'all, and this will be a thought for today. The other thing I will tell you is I tend to draw people to readings. They come to you, and this is for all readers, I think. People tend to come to you who their message is your message in a way. And like when I was reading at Psychic Fairs and I was going through my divorce, everybody who sat at my table was getting divorced or about to get divorced or had been divorced or had some divorce story. And so, and I just kept getting to look at that problem no matter how far I tried to escape into the cards. Okay. So what message do I need for my people watching me today, or whoever watches this video whenever you watch it? And we got, oh, Queen of Cups. Queen of Cups is an interesting card. And in this case, she sort of looks like a mermaid, but she's very kind, giving. And what this says to me is it's time for us to swim through our emotions and focus on them and feel what we need to feel. That's how we're going to heal, is if we get into our feelings and see how they work. I'm going to look at the little book. These are called little white books, but in the case, this is not a little white book. It's a very nice, lovely book that goes with this deck. And I will find her. Okay, here she is. And I'll read you. I read every book I get with my cards. I read the author's descriptions and what they thought, because someone put a lot of work into these get them created. So I should honor at least that much for them that I do that. Intuition is comparable to the high priestess, the Queen of Cups, rules your intuition, your compassion, and love. Like I said, she's an emotionally stable woman who can help you set sympathetic and healthy boundaries. And that would be my message for you today. The best thing we can do to heal ourselves and heal our world is for us to look at things with compassion and set sympathetic boundaries and protect our own feelings and our own emotions. But boundaries is the big word there. Boundaries are important. And so with that, I'm about to set another boundary. It's the one that says goodbye, and you have a blessed day, and take care. And please like and subscribe. Please join my garden, and I will put the cards I used today in the description below. Thank you very much.